Hello, my name is Sophia, and I'm a student of English literature. This is my story, and today, I'd like to share a little about my life in London. I also want to tell you about my amazing teacher. You can follow my story and learn English with me. It's a lovely summer day, and I'm on a train. There are two women sitting across from me, chatting in English. I can't understand much of their conversation because I'm still a beginner at learning English, and my vocabulary is limited. Despite this, I gathered the courage to start a conversation with them. I spoke a few simple English phrases, and to my surprise, they understood me. This made me really happy. I told them that I'm trying to learn English. The women explained that they were from England, returning home from a conference. We talked for about 10 minutes until my stop came. Before I got off the train, they gave me their contact information and invited me to visit them in England. After we said our goodbyes, I felt even more motivated to improve my English. From that day on, I made it my goal to study English every day. I translated texts and watched English films. In just 6 months, my English had improved significantly, but I knew I wanted to get even better. That's when I decided to move to London and enroll in an English school. My first lesson in London was on a Monday. I met my teacher and classmates, and I immediately liked my teacher. She was a young, kind, and humble lady. We began by introducing ourselves, and then she asked us a question to assess our general knowledge of English. She promised to teach us through a highly effective method that she had developed. Surprisingly, she said we wouldn't need to study from textbooks or memorize grammar rules. Instead, the key was to immerse ourselves in English and use it every day in real-life situations. This approach worked wonders for me because I've never been a fan of textbooks. They always seemed to confuse me. Our teacher explained that the purpose of language is to communicate. We need it to express our ideas, thoughts, and emotions. So, the best way to learn a new language is to use it actively, speaking and interacting with others. That's what we would be doing throughout the course. Many students focus on memorizing new words and studying grammar, but they don't use the language enough in conversation. While it's important to learn vocabulary and grammar, you don't have to study them in a traditional sense. Instead, you should practice using them in your daily life. Our teacher also showed us a simple and effective method for learning vocabulary and grammar, which I really appreciated. We continued the lesson by discussing our hobbies and interests in pairs, and I thoroughly enjoyed this approach. I could already tell this way of learning was perfect for me. The next day, I went back to school, and one of my classmates asked an interesting question. What's the best way to learn new words? Our teacher explained that the most effective way, based on research, is through reading. She advised us to read for at least 30 minutes every day, because people who read regularly tend to learn new words much faster than those who don't. She also gave us some valuable tips on how to get the most out of reading. First and foremost, it's important to choose a book or text that you find interesting. Whether it's fiction or non-fiction, the key is to enjoy what you're reading. If the text bores you, it becomes harder to stay motivated, especially when you don't understand many words. Whenever you come across a new word, you should look it up in a dictionary. This helps you understand the text better, and over time, those words will stick in your mind, without the need for memorization. Reading also helps you learn how words are connected in sentences, which improves your understanding of how to structure your thoughts in English. After discussing this, we moved on to talking about life in England and the best part-time jobs for students. Since I was looking for a job, I asked my classmates where I could find one. They suggested visiting a job center, which is specifically designed to help students find work. After school, I went straight to the job center. Not sure what kind of job I could do, I asked a lady for advice. She told me I could either work as a cleaner or a waitress in a cafe. Since I didn't have any experience in these jobs, I was unsure. But she reassured me that my English was good enough to work in a cafe. Plus, working as a waitress would give me more opportunities to practice English than cleaning would. She said I could start my job on Thursday, and I felt excited to have a job where I could improve my English skills. On Wednesday, back at school, one of my classmates from South Korea asked a question about pronunciation. He admitted that his pronunciation wasn't very good and wanted to know how to improve it. Our teacher explained that pronunciation issues often arise because we use the same muscles in our mouths that we use when speaking our native language. While this is normal, it can cause us to mispronounce certain sounds in English. The good news, she said, is that there's a technique called shadowing that can help. Shadowing is quite simple. You listen to native speakers and mimic their speech. It's similar to how children learn their first language, by copying what they hear. Our teacher showed us some videos on YouTube that demonstrated the shadowing technique, and we all practiced it for a few minutes. She also mentioned that shadowing is helpful when preparing for presentations, as it can boost your confidence in speaking English. After class, I went to the reception to ask if there were any sports activities at school. The receptionist told me there was a football team, and their practice was at 5 p.m. that day. I was thrilled because sports are an important part of my life. I joined the practice and met students from all over the world, including Brazil, Japan, and Italy. I was happy that my time in England was off to such a great start. I had a wonderful teacher, new friends from football, and a job where I could practice English. On Thursday, a new student from Italy named Diane joined our class. My teacher knew her because she had taken a beginner course at the same school the previous summer. Diane's English was impressive. She was fluent, and her pronunciation was perfect. My teacher was so pleased and praised Diane for her hard work. Diane explained that she didn't attend any school in Italy, but had used techniques like reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud that she learned from my teacher. I was curious about this thinking aloud technique, so I asked my teacher what it was. She explained that it's a very effective method for improving your English, though it requires strong motivation. Basically, instead of thinking in your native language, you start thinking in English and say your thoughts out loud. It might feel a bit strange at first, but it really works. Diane shared her experience with thinking aloud. She said that when she first started, it was difficult to translate her complex Italian thoughts into simple English sentences. However, with time, she got used to thinking in English, and it became much easier. She also mentioned that she met a man from Australia while she was still a beginner, and she was able to have a conversation with him using simple sentences. This technique had helped her a lot, and she still used it every day to improve her speaking skills. After hearing Diane's story, I was even more motivated to try thinking aloud. I knew it would help me become more fluent in English. Our teacher wrapped up the lesson by giving us some additional advice. If you want to learn English effectively, dedicate 40 minutes every day to reading, listening, thinking, and speaking. And you know what? The good news is, you get all of that here, for free, in this channel. So, subscribe to get better at English. Sophia here, and I'll see you in the next video.